Aloha Buddies. It's Concert Buddy. Back with another edition, suspicion of the series for Vinyl Community Podcast calling Mind of the Record Collector, and I got a fun one for you. Talking today with Frank Landry over at the channel on YouTube, Channel 33 RPM. I jokingly said during the interview, one of the giants in the vinyl community, and there's a little truth in that, in the sense that since 2014, Frank has really amassed a quality channel, quality production, quality content. On the way, he hit the 50,000 sub plateau within the last year. He's up to 61,000 as of this filming. I think when this video / podcast comes out, he'll have eclipsed 500 videos, which he didn't know about because your boy is all about doing his homework. But anyway, Frank's a really nice guy from Canada. One of the channels I watched before I went on the other side and started doing my own kind of thing here in the vinyl community. Interesting guy, interesting topics. He talks about things from gear to different types of formats, not just vinyl. He talks about CDs too. He collects all kinds of music. The music is the central piece of his presentation. But more than anything else, he's just very generous. He was very generous with his time in this conversation. But also he's done videos where he's crowdsourced people showing off their record rooms, their collections. He takes mailbags. So it's a very collaborative piece of what he does on his channel, and that's something that I can take a lot of value from. Others, hopefully in the vinyl community, can do the same. Anyway, the man needs no further introductions. I really enjoyed this. I appreciate Frank for coming on the podcast. Let me pick his brain. I didn't know he actually had a background in journalism and investigative reporting, which I thought was very interesting. But as you'll see and hear in this interview, he's very gracious and actually was asking me questions. It was a great back and forth. So I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Let's get into it now.
Yeah, we've got that one too. First pressing, even. You're listening to Vinyl Community Podcasts.
Buddy is back in the building. Thanks for joining me for another episode here on Vinyl Community Podcasts of the series Mind of the Record Collector. And have I got a fun one for you? I'm joined by Frank Landry. You may know him from his channel on YouTube, Channel 33 RPM. Frank, how are you doing today?
Awesome. Chance, thanks for having me. This is a good opportunity, a lot of fun to do this kind of stuff.
Hey, pleasure is all mine, sir. So hopefully, if you're listening or watching this, you're familiar with Frank. You should be. Frank's one of the giants in the vinyl community. And I say that because I think, was it this year or was it late last year you passed 50,000 subs? Now you're up to 60, but it was pretty within the last year, I want to say, right?
Yes. Can't recall exactly when, but yeah. Yeah, incredible. Blown away. Never ever thought or imagined. Just doing it for fun.
Yeah, and I think you're a few videos away from 500, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of milestones. You're hitting 50,000 subs, almost 500 videos. How long have you been doing the YouTube thing, specifically vinyl community, would you say? Mm-hmm.
First of all, I didn't even realize it's 500. That's
sorry.
That's kind of crazy if you think about it. Man, where did I must have had a lot of time to spend. Where did I do 500 videos? Wow. The first video was in October 2014. And I told the story before, but at the time my wife was working evenings and we had young kids at home and I was collecting records. So, of course, went to YouTube and just started looking up records. And I found all these people doing vinyl community videos. I Googled vinyl community, what is it? And nothing really came up. I kind of figured it out and just started doing videos. I was too scared to do them on my own at first, though. So the first few I had a friend of mine do them with me. So I was like, I can't do this. But yeah, it was just a way to occupy my time back in 2014.
And when you started, was it just something you saw other videos and you're like, hey, I can do that, or hey, I want to do that? Was there any goals in mind? What was the motivation?
No goals. I used to be a newspaper reporter, journalist, and I left journalism in 2014 because no one buys newspapers anymore. And so the writing on the wall. So I got into media relations and communications, and that's what pays the bills now. But I kind of missed the aspect of journalism in terms of connecting with an audience and researching topics and that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit of an opportunity for me to hold on to that a little bit and just to occupy my time while the kids were sleeping and my wife was working.
And when you started making those early videos, a lot of people that decide to come on the other side of the camera and do this, right? Like I was a lurker for a long time, and then I was like, I'm going to do this. When you make that move and start doing it, those early videos are cringeworthy. I mean, have you gone back and watched those first videos, or are they just like, I did them and I don't want to ever see them again?
Yeah, I think I did a reaction video to an early video a while ago, just for the hell of it. Yeah, they're cringy, of course, and then you kind of find yourself in those early videos. I think I found myself, but I used to yell at the camera a lot, and yeah, I remember in the early episodes I had like a smoke machine. Even we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah, you got to start somewhere, and I know you and I will probably look back on these videos in 5 years and think, oh my God, what were we doing? Because we always evolve and change and that kind of stuff.
No, dead to real. You're right about that. I mean, it's interesting, even in like a year to 3 years to 5 years, just the changes, right? Like just the thing that the skills you learn doing this and the things you learn not to do, like become pretty prevalent, right?
Oh yeah, you always learn something. But the hardest thing to watch is my hair turn more gray as the years went on. But
hey, at least you got hair. At least, hey, listen, you kept it, man. Like I gotta blame my mom on that one. When you started doing videos, like what was the earliest or early surprises from doing the videos? Was it the people, like the commenters? Was it like the exchanges? What was it for you?
The surprise. I don't know. Like maybe it's just the passion of people, and people are just. I don't know if it's a surprise, but the coolest part was just meeting people and talking to people. And at first, it's kind of awkward. Maybe not awkward. But I remember the first time, for example, I went on Twitter, like whenever that launched, and like, so you talk to strangers on this platform. That's kind of weird. I don't know if I want to do that. And then it turned out to be a really cool thing in terms of YouTube. I mean, meeting people. You develop friendships with people you haven't met, or like you said before this interview started, you meet people on YouTube and become friends in real life, and that's happened to many of us as well. So that's another cool aspect. There's a bond, as funny as it sounds, I think that connects record collectors or even music fans. Let's talk just about music fans. I think there's just a certain bond, and it doesn't necessarily matter what kind of music you're in, but if you're a collector, you kind of have that bug, and if you meet someone else who's weird like you have that instant connection.
That's awesome.
What do you think? You think you found that to be true as well?
No, absolutely. Like, it's interesting you say that, because for let's call it almost 10 years, I was kind of doing my own collection building on my own. Like I was hitting the flea markets, the yard sales, the Goodwills, all that stuff. Obviously the hobby's changed a lot in 10 years, but I was kind of doing it like in a lane of solitude. And I've noticed that since I started doing the YouTube thing myself, like it's opened up, like a lot of really great people have kind of like, let's say elevated, but just come into my life through this. Now I've got people who are looking for records for me, and I'm looking for records for them. And it's all like that. It can be a little polarizing when you lean into the community aspect of this, but I really believe that, because I think like 99% of the folks who are doing this, and even people don't have to be video makers.
Absolutely.
The people who comment on the videos, the people who are, because to me, the vinyl community is more than just the YouTube piece, right? People are like, nobody owns vinyl community. Oh, that's right. But like, I think the community of record collectors and, like you said, music lovers is so expansive that when you find people who have that kindred spirit, I think it's like, one, it's awesome to plug into it. And two, like I said, I was kind of doing this by myself for the longest time. My poor wife, she had to hear all these really good, like, I'm sure your wife can attest to this too. You had to hear all these stories, and then now you've got somebody other people to share them to and be like, oh, guess what I found? And then so she's been enjoying me talking to other people about the record.
Absolutely. And you raise a good point in that you don't have to make videos to be part of this big whatever it is. Like, I've been to record shows and someone, hey, I've seen your videos, Frank. Okay, awesome. They just start talking, and I've made a lot of friends in my local town who, just from being at record shows. Now they come over, we go record shopping, we shoot the breeze. It's a great community, a worldwide community.
Worldwide, you're exactly right. What was it like that first time that somebody just out of the blue came up and said, hey, are you channeling your RPN? Can you remember that time?
Yes, it was odd. It's like, really? Because you kind of do these things sort of like we talked about meeting people and everything, but really kind of in a silo. Like at first you don't think you're talking to anyone but a camera. But I was at a record store in a mall, and someone said, "I've seen your videos." I'm like, I had to take a second to digest. I'm like, really? This is weird, odd. Yeah, it was interesting because part of my brain is just sitting here. I'm sitting in my basement in my office, and it's like this little silo. It's like, yeah, people watch it, but are they really watching it?
Yeah, same with me. I was at a record show, my local record show. They have it like 6 or 7 times a year. Mm-hmm. And this gal Janice, if she's watching, she's a frequent watcher of the channel. She just came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I really like your videos."
Awesome. Yeah.
And I was like, like exactly what you said. It kind of caught me off guard because I was like in my habitat. I'm like focused. Like I'm there to flip and dig and everything. And it kind of took me by surprise. I'm like, "Thank you?" Like question mark.
Yeah.
But no, it was awesome. And then other people like would come out and I'm like, so people are really watching this. It's unreal.
It is unreal. Like a recent one, I was in Toronto at the airport coming home from a trip, and a pilot comes up to me in his uniform. I'm just sitting there just waiting for the flight. The pilot comes up to me and goes, "Excuse me." And I thought, why is this pilot talking to me? What's going on? He says, you're Frank. I watched you on YouTube, right?
Wow.
And I said, yeah. He said, do you live in Toronto? I go, no. He goes, where do you live? And I told him. He goes, I didn't even know you're Canadian. I go, are you flying me home? Are you the pilot of this plane? He goes, no, he's on a layover or whatever. But that was pretty cool.
That's why all of a sudden he invites you in the cockpit. That'd be pretty odd. That'd be a little weird, right? Yeah. That's funny. Well, one thing I wanted to pick your brain on is because since you've been doing this for a while and you have a lot of really interesting programming, and you're also, and we'll kind of talk about this in a little bit, but you're also pretty quick to tell your audience, hey, it's around the holidays. I'm taking some time off to kind of recharge, refuel, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through your process in terms of how do you lay out your ideas? Do they, like when you think of something, do you like me, do you keep like notes on your phone and then that way you kind of revisit, or like trying to keep it fresh, interesting ideas, like you talk about the vinyl record den stuff, and how do you where do your ideas come from, I guess is the easy way to ask.
Where did they come from? Honestly, I don't stress about it too much. It just kind of come to me. In a former life, I was I think it came from a former life because I went to journalism school and I was a newspaper reporter and newspaper editor. So I go to work every day prepared to assign people stories to cover or come with my own stories. So I don't do that anymore, but I think it comes naturally just to generate story ideas. So yeah, I keep a list whenever I can with ideas, but coming up with stuff is never really an issue. Coming up with stuff people might be interested in is the issue. But
sure.
Yeah, then I try to take a couple breaks every year. I'm debating. I'm not sure if I'll take a break this summer because I got a lot of stuff I want to get out. But I haven't done any videos. I haven't done a video for Friday or Sunday this week, so we'll see if it happens or not.
Yeah, how does that? If you're, I know how I feel about it. If you don't have a direct idea, do you sweat it all? Because you do have regular. That's one thing you're really great about is your consistency. And you have the Friday and Sunday videos. If you're getting up to, like, let's call it, 2 days away, do you start kind of sweating knowing that, like, hey, I've got to put some out Friday, or do you just pass that Friday and how do you approach that?
Yeah, I just pass it. I'm pretty casual about Fridays. Fridays are really casual, chill episodes. If someone sends me something in the mail, which I'm always blown away by, Fridays would be a mailbag episode, or if I get some records, I'll do a record review. But if I have no new records or nothing in the mail, I'll skip a Friday. That's no big deal. Those episodes are fun, but they're unscripted and whatever. Sunday episodes I give a little more thought to. Mm-hmm. But as I said, I have an idea for an episode this Sunday, but I haven't done it yet, so I'm not sure if I'll be one this week.
That's fun. One thing I did want to talk about too is we touched on this briefly, burnout. Because I know a lot of folks kind of go through it. I went through it right at the end of my first year. I was kind of like, okay, I've done it a year. Farming ideas and stuff. Like how does it happen frequently for you? Or like talk about like burnout, because you need to reach a point sometimes where, like, I wouldn't say short on ideas, but maybe short on motivation, short on time. Certain things kind of get in the way. Like, to talk to me about like burnout, because I think everybody that does this can kind of relate to that.
Oh yeah, burnout's a real thing, especially if you YouTube is, it's fun, but it's down the down the totem pole, right? It's like family. I'm not sure about yourself, but I got, kids 11 and 12 and 15 and wife, and got a house, and you got to take care of that, and a mortgage to pay, and a job, and parents.
Adulting, hardcore adulting. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's not always fun, but that's the way it is. So YouTube is kind of down the totem pole. So yeah, when life gets busy or the things get in the way, that's one of the first things to give. So I actually try to, I take a few weeks in the winter off and a few weeks in the summer to just kind of forget about it for a while. It's also an opportunity I like to have a few episodes in the bank, as I say, ready to go. I have none ready to go right now. So that's why it tells me it's almost time to take a break to come up with some stories to keep in the can. But anyone getting into it, always my advice, don't get so wrapped up in this stuff that it's all consuming. It's supposed to be fun, right? If you do YouTube videos just for fun, don't do it to make money. Don't do it to get free stuff. Your intentions have to be true and authentic, I think. And when it gets too much, just walk away and come back, because people are still going to be there in a few weeks. Not a big deal.
No, that's great advice, because I know from other people I've talked to, the burnout is real, and you hit it right on the head. A lot of people, when they start doing it, they get caught up in the numbers. They start looking at the analytics and comparing themselves to other channels and start why am I not growing so fast? And I always say exactly what you said. You got to be doing it for you, and when it quits being fun, you got to reassess, pivot, change your thing. I mean, these interviews I've been doing was a way for me to pivot and do something that kept my fire burning, connecting with other people in the community. Yeah. So you got to keep challenging yourself, but also make it fun. Once it quits being fun, you gotta, reassess, right?
Those are the two things. Challenge yourself. I always try to challenge yourself, right? Can I, whatever your challenge is, and have fun. You have to have fun. Otherwise it's not worth it, man. Life is so short. There's a million things you could be doing. If this is a chore, find something else. Go golfing, or go shoot some hoops, or go race cars, whatever you like to do. Do this for the right purposes. Don't worry about money. Don't count subscribers. Nope. Do it for yourself, and be true to yourself. Don't do topics you're not interested in. You got to have fun. You have to have fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's funny you said that. So when we're filming this, I just watched Steve Carlson had a video about, his assessment on what happens with people. And because there's a lot of channels he used to watch that they don't do anything anymore. And it's pretty common, right?
Yeah.
But to that end, let's two-parter here. When you first started, what were some channels that really, for lack of a better word, inspired you, or ones that really held your attention and kind of propelled you to be I want to do that too, because they may not be around anymore. The more I talk to people in the community through these interviews, I hear about a lot of channels that well predate my time watching content.
A couple of the guys who are still around are Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame. He was definitely one of the early guys I'd watched. Scott Waters from No Life Till Metal was one of those early guys. And I don't know if anyone else is still around from back then that I watched. There was one guy, I can't remember his name anymore, but his channel was BioSite or something like that. And it was awesome. Those are a few of the. Sorry, my computer monitor went off. I just keep
you're good.
For the light.
For the light. Yep, same thing.
Yeah. So those are some of them, but it was very small back then. I know the people who came before me must have been total pioneers, because I wasn't a pioneer, but it was a very, it was much smaller at the time. People come and go, and that's part of it, right? They probably said to themselves, it's not meeting my goals. This is not fun anymore. I tried it and it wasn't for me.
Sure. I'm with you. Well, let's talk to the meat of the conversation I wanted to talk to you about, and that's record collecting, right?
Yeah.
And off by saying you collect vinyl, of course, but I mean you're a mass media consumer in that CDs, you're an equal opportunity consumer, I'd say. You don't limit yourself to vinyl. Maybe is vinyl probably your lead in, you lead with vinyl, but if something didn't come out on vinyl, you want to find the CD, the cassette tapes. How would you describe your approach to amassing a music collection?
Yeah, it's always an interesting question. I mean, for me, I always say music is first. Pardon me, music is first. Yeah, okay, it's a vinyl channel, but it's a music channel. All of us is really a music channel. If it's not for the music, you're probably, for me, it's all about the music. I typically buy records, I guess, first and foremost to be my favorite, but sometimes the record's too pricey or doesn't exist, or the CD is more accessible. So yeah, I think vinyl first. I mean, I'll if you don't mind, I'll swear for a second. Streaming is a swear, but I probably, if I'm perfectly honest, streaming is probably what I listen to, the medium I probably use the most, and that's just because driving, commuting, in the garage, out on the deck, like, so I probably stream more than anything. But I'm totally about buying physical products. If I love the artist, I'm going to buy it. I love having the collection behind me. I love having records from my youth, which I still have. I love discovering new artists and supporting new artists by buying their records on Bandcamp or whatever. So yeah, I guess my philosophy is music first, and then if I dig it, records, yeah, and then would be CDs, I guess.
Are you one of the guys who kept the records from back in the day during the CD change, or were you like me, just got rid of them and went full on CDs?
No, I kept everything. I always had them in a couple of milk crates, and I hauled them when I was, in my 20s from all my different apartments, and I hauled them across the country when we moved. I always held on to my records. I never got rid of them. I never got rid of my CDs either. I remember like 10 years ago, tons of people I knew were getting rid of their CDs and saying, why do I need them? I'm going to rip them to this 128 kilobyte screen or whatever, and it's going to be awesome forever. And now they're like, damn, that doesn't sound very good. I should have kept my CDs.
True story. I remember I was in college when all the Napster stuff was going on, and I was like, this is great. They take up space. I don't need them. I can put them on a hard drive. And you're exactly right, because I had to buy a computer like 8 years ago, a desktop, just to be able to access this goofy hard drive. And I'm like, hang on a second, I'm buying more hardware to then be able to add these MP3s, and that was even before streaming. So I know I got to ask you one question. I'm sure a lot of people have on your mind.
Yeah.
How large is your collection?
I was so diligent about tracking every record I bought, and I started doing it like a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet or whatever, because that was before Discogs and all that stuff. And I've totally stopped cataloging my records over the past year or two. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I stopped categorizing them. I stopped cataloging them, but probably around 1,400.
Okay.
Yeah, not huge by some comparisons.
Yeah, sure. Well, and I know too, you've gone through waves as I've watched you over the years of intentionally paring down your collection and intentionally keeping things that you want to keep. And you're like a lot of us. I know watching these vinyl community videos can really be a challenge, because you'll hear a recommendation and somebody's really passionate, right? They're really passionate about, and then I'll get it and I'll listen to it once, and then it sits on the shelf. So that can always, it's kind of like a catch-22, like, cool, thanks for recommendation. Yes, it sounded good. Probably not going to be part of my rotation. So I've seen you kind of go through that we all go through. I'm going through it right now. I'm getting I'm going through doubles, and like, how many copies of Nevermind do I really need? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. You got to think to yourself, is it better off here, or is it better off with someone who's going to listen to it a lot more, and then you can take that money and reinvest in something else? So I think purging is an important exercise to go through, whatever, every year or two. In my closet here, I got a couple boxes of records, but I haven't had the time to go through them and price them. And truth be told, it is a little bit of a pain selling records. So
yes,
someday I'll price them and sell them. But yeah, I got to purge. And yeah, how many copies of Nevermind do you need? I probably have like my favorite bands. I probably have like 5 copies of the first Black Sabbath album, but I am holding on to some of those.
So like, the Vertigo press, like you got the ones you want. Yeah.
Non-collectors won't understand that. They're like, why would you have like 6 copies of Master of Reality? Well, you got the German one. Yeah, you got the Vertigo. You got the Japanese with the oak. Like you gotta have. You don't have to, but you gotta be a collector to understand that part of it.
1,000,000%. Yeah, I didn't understand. Especially the more I learned, the more I went down these rabbit holes of, you got color variants. I feel in a way for a lot of folks getting into the hobby now, and we'll kind of touch that here in a second. But there's just so many options. There's color variants. There's cover variants, or if you go to retail specific special add-ins. I mean, there's just so many ways that they've figured out how to market to folks.
Absolutely.
To become like, look at the Taylor Swift stuff that she what was it, one album,
so many.
Yeah, there was like 18 different covers, and it's hard not to bite on that apple, because you're like, oh yeah, that's fun. Oh yeah, I'd like to, like Pokemon, collect them all, right? Like,
yeah. But you know what? I only realized in the past couple of years, because I also casually collect Blu-rays and movies.
Sure.
But movie collectors are just as nuts as record collectors. I didn't realize that. There's color variants. There's like the different covers. There's like the, what do you call it? Like the
flip boxes and stuff like that.
Flip boxes, and there's like the metal containers. There's a name for them. I can't remember what they call them, but like there's the typical Blu-ray, but then there's like metal tin containers, and it's like, hey, you guys are just as crazy. And I know nothing about comics, but I understand comic collectors are just as nuts as well.
Well, it's interesting. You raise an interesting point, because I heard this a while ago. I forget where I picked it up, but I think it's true, is that even going back to your younger days, they say that record collectors, or anybody who's really like focused on collecting something, they usually collect other things too. They're a collector of many things, not just, now some people only music, some people only, but yeah, comics. At different points in my life, I've done baseball cards.
Okay. Yeah.
I've done comics. When my son started getting into Legos, like went hardcore, like helping him get Legos, you know what I mean? So like, there's always been like that side thing, and it's always helped me kind of take a break from vinyl collecting, but especially because, and let's kind of get into it, the hobby now, it's probably never been a better time to be a record collector, but it's also been never a more confusing time, because so many options, so much information, and also the pricing thing. And you've talked about this on your channel. The pricing, particularly of new records, is it's hard to do the math, right? The inflation, it's like Alan in The Hangover. You're trying to do the numbers in the air, but it's hard to make sense of it. But do you feel that it's kind of a detriment? Obviously, costs are costs. Sometimes I don't blame the labels for taking costs up where they need to, but they've had a history over the years of really trying to get the golden goose. And really, if you think back, remember CDs had long boxes, like things you didn't need, and they're charging $20 a piece. How do you feel about the rising tide of costs in new and even used? Used is kind of coming up right behind it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's bananas. And for some reason, when I do the conversions and visit the US, records are expensive in the US, but they're even more expensive in Canada for some reason. I guess different distribution channels or tariffs. I don't even know. It's even hard to tell where records originate from anymore, because some are pressed in Canada, some in the US, some in Germany.
Czech Republic, all over the place.
Republic. Yeah, who knows? But costs. I'm not sure about yourself, but there was a time 5-10 years ago, I wouldn't blink like about buying a record that piqued my interest or my curiosity. Is like, yeah, okay, $18 or whatever, let's go for it. But all of a sudden, when a new record is like $30-$40, even more, it's like, I got to really think about this. I'm going to stream it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to not to be a cheapskate or anything, but we all have a limited amount of money to spend on this stuff. So you got to make sure, I'm speaking for myself anyway, got to make sure you're investing in the right records. It's funny, I went in my Amazon account and I looked at the records I purchased, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. I was looking at some of the prices I was paying. I'm like, damn, those were pretty cheap back then. Like getting new releases for like 16, 18, $20 or something like that. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. What a time. I mean, even in 10, I'm just kind of picking a point. I can exactly what you're talking about. I remember getting records, they would have blowout deals. And not to say they're not doing blowout deals now, but $10, $15 was a lot better looking than $25, $30. And those are blowout prices, right?
Yeah, you really gotta think twice. Like some of the prices are crazy. So I do feel kind of bad for people just kind of getting into it, because the cost for entry is really expensive now. But on the other side, there are so many good things that people are getting into now. Like, you probably haven't had this many choices for good gear in decades. You can get a really good turntable for like a couple $100.
Yep.
You can get a mini amp for like $100 and attach a preamp to that. Like, you can get good equipment for a good price now. So that part is good.
Well, let's talk about gear for a second, because your channel does talk about more vinyl gear and more, right?
Yeah.
in your own journey, like at what point did you really kind of get like I'm gonna say hyper focused, but just more cognizant, more intentional about having like what you listen to your music to? Did that come, was it early on, or is it like you're saying now, like now that it's a lot more cost friendly, now you can get some really great speakers and accessories and all this for a good price?
That's a good question. I guess when you're a kid, it's whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think by my 20s, I started getting into like the best. I call myself a frugophile, frugal audiophile. I'm not an audiophile, but just by that, I mean getting the best gear that you can afford. My stuff is not high end. It's like mid-fi stuff, I guess, or stuff I cobble together used or whatever. I see you nodding, so I assume that's kind of
the same. Yeah, no disrespect to people who want to really buck up on that stuff. Like I'll watch different live streams or different channels, and they're really in it, and that's great about gear. And I try to listen. I try to learn, right, because I think it's important to learn. But I've got vintage stuff. I've got cost-effective stuff. I've got stuff that works for me, and I think any collector that's watching this, new, old, cheap, intentional, whatever. Like I think you got to make it work for you, and it's got to work for your budget. It's got to work for your room. Like the acoustics of where you listen to is so important, and something that not a lot of people think about. They're just thinking about, I've got to get this turntable, I've got to get this amp, I've got it, and that's great. But the six sides of the room, right? The four walls and the ceiling and floor are super important, and those are things that, even though that's not like my passion, I learn from passionate people that talk about that stuff, and through osmosis, I kind of learn.
Yeah, you raise a great point. Like, buy what you like and what you can afford. You don't need. You define what you like. I got my Technics SL1200. I love it. That's all I need for a turntable. I got some Marantz gear. Like, you got to find what you like, and that's why one thing that bugs me about the YouTube videos is people who rag or bag on kids who have like the suitcase players and the Victrolas and Crosleys. Like, why do you care? Why do people care? If someone enjoys it, let them enjoy it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think a better approach, not that I'm giving life lessons here, coach them up. Be like, hey, great that you have that. If you think about if you're ready for that next step in your budget,
sure.
You know what I mean? That's something that kind of gets lost in the sauce of, here's an idea. Before you criticize, why don't you analyze and help people learn, right? Because I think the information, like we talked about earlier, so much good information in the community that I think part of possessing information like that is sharing it. And yeah, I'm with you. Like I know there's certain channels, and I'm not going to name them, that hate Crosleys. They make videos about destroying Crosleys, and that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, like you said, if that's the way a new collector, a younger collector gets into the hobby,
whatever. I'm sure someone would scoff at me because I have a 1200 for a turntable. Like, oh, that sucks, man. That's for DJs or a project or whatever. Whatever you like is good, and it's a journey. You're never going to reach the end of it, right? Either, right? It's always
no finish line. That's right.
No finish line.
Yeah. Well, one thing you raise a good point, and let's talk about this very briefly, is that when you put yourself out in the YouTube space, there's everyone's got an opinion, and sometimes you don't want to hear them. And I'm talking about trolls. How have you?
Oh man,
what's your approach to trolls? I mean, do you just straight up block them? Do you get like me, and sometimes you take the cookie and you go back and forth with them? How do you view, because a channel your size and putting out content twice a week, it's a larger runway for people to just come out of the shadows and just come at you.
Yeah, I have to say that the general community, or at least on my channel, it's like 99.9% good.
Awesome.
Which surprises me. Which really surprises me, because when you put yourself out there, you expose yourself potentially to all sorts of stuff. So it's almost all awesome. I have some filters on YouTube where they pull like potentially offensive comments. So those ones I just have to say yes. If someone's a jerk, I don't engage. I just block them. It's my living room. It's my house. I don't. And by that, like the bar is set pretty high. Like if someone, like there's some weird stuff sometimes, like, oh, dude, you're so ugly, you shouldn't be making YouTube videos or this kind of. I'm like, what do you? But if it's a legitimate point, I'm all for hearing
engagement.
yeah, opinion's different than mine. What do I know? I know nothing. I'm just some guy sitting in a basement. You can have your opinion, but yeah, I don't get a lot of trolls. It's pretty good. Yourself, do you get a lot of trolls?
Oh, it's funny you say that. Yeah. It's funny. You know, when they come at the way you look or the way that you dress, like, I hate your face. I'm like,
yeah, like what?
Cool, thanks. I mean, I'll go to Beverly Hills next week. You know what I mean? Like, the way you do stuff. But yeah, I Robert Fithen was a guest early in the series, and we talked about trolls, and you know, like, I get good advice, and I'm just kind of telling on myself here, but you know, just don't engage. Like, once somebody, you know, you raised a really good point earlier, and talking about Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame, he gave me this piece of advice, and it's very true. This is your house, and think of it like you're inviting guests into your house, and if they don't behave, show them the door, right? Or, you know, like, so it's a slippery slope. But when I was talking to Robert, like, he even said, like, you get to a point, just don't even engage. And I'm still getting my Bambi legs in a lot of respects with the engagement with the audience, but I've slipped on that soap a couple times, because it's just, I think, like, we all know. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's human nature. It's just like, why do you hate me so much? Then why are you?
What did I do?
Yeah. So you're hate watching me and this, right? Because there's so many options. Like you said, there's so many other things to do in your life. There's many other channels to go to, you know, so.
But it's really weird if you think about it. Like, if you're walking on the streets, someone wouldn't come up to you and go, dude, I hate that cap you have on. That's the ugliest cap. You're an idiot for wearing that cap. Right. You wouldn't do that in real life. It makes
keyboard courage. Yeah, it's a phenomenon that I think that historians, assuming society survives another couple hundred years, historians would really be well served to figure out where this courage came from, because you're exactly right. 15, 20 years ago, pre-internet even, like, yeah, nobody just come up to you street just unsolicited and say, I hate your shirt. You know what I mean? Like, it's the other way. It's like, hey man, nice shirt, or hey, you know, especially music, like cool band shirt or whatever. Nope, not on YouTube, not on the internet. They just this thing. But
it's almost like when you're driving a car, like there's road rage sometimes, right? Because people are in their enclosures and they're not. It's almost like you're dehumanizing the people around you. So
it's a good way to put it.
Bird at someone, you honk at them, you tail. Not that you or I do that, but it happens in every city every day. So it's like the internet's that times 100. But yeah, don't engage the trolls. I'm totally open to contrary opinions, but if you're going to be rude, I don't want to deal with that. Because the other thing is, and tell me if you agree with this or not, once you let that rot set in, you don't control it, it just spreads.
It's like a virus. You're exactly right. It's a virus, and I've had the people who've created, well, it's not just me, right? But like the people who create the accounts, the fake accounts, that then it's bizarre. But I mean, we could do a whole conversation on this, trust me. But last thing I wanted to touch on about the record collecting piece is, where do you find yourself getting most of your new pieces to your collection? Is it online? Is it through Discogs, eBay? Because I always feel, and you touched on it earlier, the collecting in Canada, and I've talked to my Canadian friends about this, is a lot different experience just from the pricing with, like you said, the tariffs, the VATs, all these things, the alphabet soup of things you guys have to pay. So where do you find yourself getting your records now? Is it record shows? That's a place I've really leaned into this year.
Yeah. Most of my records I buy now are new releases. Generally, I have most of the back catalog stuff I want. So record stores, a lot of record stores, online a lot as well. Some cool stuff you can buy through from the UK as well. It's another curse word, but I do buy stuff through Amazon. New releases there as well.
Sure.
Amazon, local record stores are my number one, though. Nice. Bandcamp is another one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to a lot of record shows anymore. I just find they're so crowded, and a lot of those records I can buy from those same dealers at any time, especially once you start to get to know them. But yeah, record shows are cool too. I mean, I don't limit myself to anything. If I see something good, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, last thing. I know I said last thing on this, but I got one last thing.
Yeah.
So the one I like to ask people, because I'm just curious, I get a wide array of answers, is hopefully it's not for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you think happens to your collection when you exit the celestial plane? Is this something, I mean, is something you want to wind down, something you want to give your kids, something you want to for lack of a better word, burden your wife with having to like
Mm-hmm.
get rid of a bunch of records? Have you any thoughts onto that?
I have. I turned 50 this year, so there's a milestone coming up. I'm like, oh man, okay, got all this stuff. What am I going to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a good answer for you yet, other than I think I'll purge, like continuing to purge the stuff I'm not going to listen to a lot. But then I don't know if my kids would want it. You don't want to burden your kids with tons of stuff they're not going to be interested in. And my wife, then she'll find out how much I really paid for all that stuff. I'll be long gone, so it doesn't matter. I don't know what's going to happen to it. I won't be here, so it won't matter, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. How about yourself?
I have certain records. It's funny. I have like in my cubes, I have one cube that's like, if the house is on fire and the pets and the family is out, I just grab that one cube, right? Like, hopefully it never comes to that. And in that cube is what I really want to, like, not only are like my most valuable pieces, but the ones that mean the most to me, the hardest ones to find, and the ones that, like, my son's really into music right now. He plays, and, you know, we went to Seattle a few months ago, and he's like into the grunge thing. So we got to check out all that stuff, and went to like Kurt Cobain's like Suicide House. Like, some of these were his ideas, which I was equally impressed, but also like, you sure you want? Like,
that'd be a cool trip.
Yeah. But point being is, like, I know at least some of the records and where they're going to end up. But yeah, I mean, you raise a good point about getting older and you know, like, don't want to, for lack of a better word, burden people with this. I haven't reached that point. I think I'm still in the stage of collecting where I'm slowing down, and I'm trying to now, like, Brandon's really worked with me on this, because I'm kind of seeing Joe is getting the best copy you can get. Like, that's like upgrading what you already have, because that's kind of fun too. Like, if you can get, like, these JC, and the flip side to another one, these hype stickers. Now they've got me like looking for record with hype stickers, you know. So there's always, it's a sickness, right? There's always different lanes that you can pick. But yeah, I'm still digesting too. But at worst, there's that one shelf that those are the ones that we got to save.
That's a good way to do it, because I don't have that. They're all mixed in into there. That's a good way to do it. Like the prized records. And we all have those prized records. It doesn't have to be the most expensive record in your collection. Something maybe that's, you know, your whatever. There can be various reasons why that's, you know, an important record.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue. Let's go. We're at the lightning round part of the presentation, Frank.
All right. I'm nervous about this. So nervous.
Well, these should be fun questions to kind of end the conversation with. But along those lines, can you recall, like, and I'm gonna curse. I'm actually gonna curse on this one. Right. I call it the oh shit moment, where you know, and hopefully collectors, the longer you've been doing this, still get those. I have them fewer and far between, but can you remember, like, you're flipping through the bins and there's like that you're like, I'd say take your breath away. It sounds a little like ridiculous, but you know what I mean? It gives you a pause and you're like, oh boy, can you think of something like that?
Yeah, and I screwed it up. It was 6 years ago. I was living in a city called Edmonton. I went to my local record store, and I walked in. On the wall, they had a still sealed copy of Van Halen Balance.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, oh shit! And the price tag was $50. I thought, that's too much. I'd never pay $50 for that record. It's now worth $500. So that was.
It's funny you say that one. I remember I have a copy, fortunately, but I remember I was at Amoeba San Francisco, and I saw it on the wall, and I was like, exactly like you. I'm like, well, I've already got a copy, and it was like $60.
Oh,
you know what I mean? But I'm like, well, I already got a copy, and I've already got so much stuff I've got to haul back. But it's one of those ones where you go back in time and be like, hey,
exactly,
grab that one, because you can get other things through that. But that's
exactly. And I've had too many of those moments. A few years ago, I went to the record show in Fargo, North Dakota. Okay. And I was flipping through, and they had Motley Crue Too Fast for Love leather press, 2nd edition. And as I said to the guy, can I take it? I've never seen one of these. And I took it out, and I was examining it, and it was $105. I thought, no way, I'm not going to spend $105. So I put it back. And again, that's like $600 now or something.
I know. Well, I always borrow. Are you familiar with that show, American Pickers?
Yes, I love that show.
Yeah, great show.
Mike and Frank.
Yeah, Mike is if I had the tattoo on, I should. He has that saying, if you've never seen it before, that's the time to strike.
Yeah.
I've tried, and it's true. I've tried to, like, and you know, to your point, at the different points of collecting, I thought, oh man, $50 record, who's doing that? Or then it goes to 100, right? And then you just keep going up the steeplechase. But usually I always hear Mike Wolf's, you know, thing in my ear of, like, if you've never seen it before, that's the time. Like, I was at a record show a few months ago, and I found there was the Van Halen four song EP. I think Running with the Devil. It comes with the Looney Tunes sticker out.
The Looney Tunes, yeah,
the red vinyl. I'd never seen it before, and so I kind of do that record show, kind of like looking on your phone. Is this legit? What is this?
Yeah.
And fair price. I think it was $100. I'm like, man, $100 for a 4-song EP, but had to strike. I'd never seen it before.
Of course. Yeah, that's an awesome. I'm going to remember that those are words to live by.
It is. It's also very expensive words to live by. but like you said, after like Brandon, again, I'm bringing Brandon up a lot, but he's a big influence on my collecting. It's money on the shelf, and at worst, you can always move off of it. And it's very free.
Yeah. Excellent advice.
So it's another lightning round. Do you still, the older we're getting, you said 50 is turned 50 this year.
Yeah.
Do you still enjoy live music?
Oh God, I don't want to sound like an old man. Yes, but less than I used to, if that makes any sense.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. It's so bad. I didn't want to say it out loud, but sometimes it's like, oh man, I gotta drag my ass down to
Tuesday,
wherever.
It's like, are they not thinking? It's funny. I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis a while ago had an idea. She raised a point. She was talking about one of these big bands, and they were playing like really late, like a festival. U2, I'm making it up. And she's like, why don't they do matinees like they do on Broadway? And Frank, I got to tell you, I thought it was one of the greatest ideas I've heard in the last 5 years. Cause I'm like, the old guy in me was like, yes. You can go at 2:00 and you've got enough energy and it's daylight and you can still get back and have a nice dinner and a nice nap. And I'm like, when did I become like a member of the Cocoon Cast? You know what I mean? But I'm like, it's true, but I'm with you. I love live music. It's like feeds my soul, but sometimes it's hard to get up for those Tuesday evening shows. Like Sunday evening's the worst because you got work looming. So,
I'll give you one example. Death Angel was in town a while ago, and they're playing at a bar. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've never seen those guys before. Bay Area thrash metal, awesome. They're playing at a club. Then I looked at the listing, and there's like Death Angel, and there's like 4 opening bands. I did a calculation. I'm like, those guys aren't going on until midnight, and it's a Tuesday night, and they'll be done at 1:30. But by the time I get home, it'll be like 2:30, and I got to work in the morning. So I skipped it.
Adulting, man, that's the worst. I remember in my 20s, if I got like free tickets to a show, I'm like, yeah, let's go, like free tickets. Now it's like game time decision. It's always like, and it's like, how did my day go? What's tomorrow look like? Exactly what you said. How many bands are going on before? I will say technology and communication from the venues has helped, because before, a lot of times you didn't know. They're like, okay, doors at 7, 5 other bands. It was hard to figure that out. But now I think they figured out people want to know, and they're like, the main band's going on at 9:05. Did they always go on at 9:05? Sometimes, not all the time. But at least you have that window to plan.
I can't believe you made me acknowledge this publicly, that I now think through these things, but at least you and I are kind of on the same page about it.
Playing the long game, I get it. So 2 more for you. What does vinyl community, I'm using quotation marks, vinyl community mean to you?
What does vinyl community mean to me? I think it's kind of what we talked about before, just this global community of like-minded people who are into records and vinyl and music. And again, there's that instantaneous bond as soon as you meet a record player from anywhere. You and we met for the first time, 58 minutes ago, and having a great conversation. So really this unifying kind of thing.
Awesome.
Love it. Terms of like who does videos and whatever. It's just, it's the connection that everyone has. And as we talked about, you don't have to be making videos. You don't have to be on YouTube. The vinyl community is just record collectors, man.
I'm with you. As Mazzy likes to say, it's the music, stupid.
It is the music, stupid, yeah.
All right, last one, Frank, I got for you. Talked about film, so maybe I've hit you on the good one. So you said you collect movies too.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best, in your opinion, this is an opinion piece, the best vinyl-inspired feature film? When you think about like record collecting, like what do you think is, I'm not even going to do Mount Rushmore. I'll just like your personal favorite.
Vinyl inspired movie, so a movie inspired by a record?
Well, maybe records or music or is kind of one of the central pieces of the story. Like I'll take one off the table, and maybe it's the one like High Fidelity would be a good one, right?
Oh yeah, High Fidelity is a classic.
Right.
We got your Spinal Tap.
There you go. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Bad News or More Bad News?
No. What's that?
No, it's this British comedy troupe. It's kind of like Spinal Tap, but
Writing it down. Bad News. Okay.
Bad News and More Bad News. More Bad News. See that one? It's like an hour long, but they're like Spinal Tap, but better because they're alcoholics, they're idiots, and they're heavy metal fans.
The trifecta.
And this movie, More Bad News, is a mockumentary about this band called Bad News getting back together, and they're offered a record label, and they make a video, and it ends with they get offered a gig at Donington, and like Ozzy Osbourne's on the bill, Motorhead's on the bill, and they actually played Donington, and it was brilliant. Watch More Bad News. It's on YouTube.
Okay, done. I wrote it down. Awesome. Well, Frank, we did it. You made it unscathed. Hopefully the bruises will heal in the morning. But I appreciate the conversation. Like I said, I've been watching you for years, and through this medium, be able to get to talk to you about music. Like, great conversation. I really appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Chance, I appreciate the opportunity. It's always fun to do these kind of things and talk to other people about music, because that's what we're all about, all of us, right?
You got it. All right. Well, thanks, buddies, again for joining us on the podcast. See you next time.
And that was another trip around the turntable. Thanks for listening to Vinyl Community Podcasts.